the difference between nations, the haves and the have-nots, is ownership, particularly home ownership.
Welcome once again, my great people. My name is Kelvin, and this is the Future Talk Show, where we help you define, shape, and establish a sustainable future. At the beginning, we promised that we'll be bringing you guests right from our locality and international. Where today we have a guest that is from abroad, and we are looking forward to consume much from her. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, comment, and you can give us a thumbs up. Give us any insight that you'd want us to, improve on. If you have a guest that you'd want us to bring on board, or if you're interested to feature in our show, you are highly welcome. Well, today we are going to talk about economic empowerment, how best you can, earn wealth, how you can preserve your wealth, and how you can grow sustainability from whatever you put your hands to work on. Okay. Well, today our guest is Rona. I'm going to let her to introduce herself.
Well, thank you, Kelvin. It's great to be here with you. My name is Rona Jordan, and I have been doing charitable and humanitarian work in Kenya for over 22 years. First starting with bringing volunteer teams from the United States, and we worked in the slums with orphans for 10 years in Nairobi. And then in the year 2010, we partnered with Jared and Shem Okello to come to the western part of Kenya, Nyando specifically, to primarily build homes for widows and orphans, and also to help children with education, medical clinics, food distribution, many things like that. And over the years, one thing that I have learned is that charity does not solve poverty.
Charity does not solve poverty.
It does not solve poverty.
I'm glad you're talking about this, because our topic today is going to be on economic empowerment. And we want to I would really love to know what do you have for us when we talk economic empowerment?
Well, as I said, over many years, we gave out a lot of charitable aid in Africa, as has many U.S. countries or Western countries. But what we found out is it doesn't solve poverty. And so a few years back, I began to partner with a man by the name of Dr. John Morgan from the United States, who did his doctoral dissertation as he studied poverty around the world. Why is it that some nations are rich, some nations are poor, some families are rich, some families are poor? What is it? As he began to study poverty, he's also a former pastor, a theologian, and an economist, a strange combination there. But as he began to study, he saw some biblical principles of how to help people get out of poverty. And really that just resonated with me, because I wanted to do something that would not just be handouts, but a hand up. So I began to work with him. We began to work in Kenya specifically on sharing some principles with people about how to grow wealth and how to raise people out of poverty.
And I'm glad we are talking about poverty, because most countries, especially in Africa, most countries are considered third world countries,
Yes.
and poverty is a great menace.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, what are some of the outcomes what are some of the reasons why poverty is
Well,
taking over Africa?
There's a lot of different things that go into it. Of course, corruption is one of them. But one of the basic principles is ownership. But he came up with 3 principles, looking at biblical principles, and he came up with 3 very simple things.
What are they?
Create, own, and grow. And so one of the things that he starts with is God as a creator. And we are made in his image to come alongside him and create. And we all have that ability. He's given us talents and gifts to be able to create things to give us what we need. And poverty is simply not having what you need, not having enough.
Exactly.
So sustainability. So he starts with a very simple concept, which is create. And
so Rona, before you go any further, is this an organization? Is he doing this online? Is he doing this just for charity?
yes, so he has an organization called People Prosper International. He has a goal of teaching these principles around the world, online and in person, and also training trainers to teach it. And his goal is to help 1 million people out of poverty by the year 2030 with these principles. So you start with create. Create something out of, you look around you, what's a need there is? What is something that people need that has value? And you create value. And you also look at what can you do? What service do you have? What abilities do you have to create something that people need? So you start with that very, very simple principle of create. The second principle of wealth creation is ownership. The difference between nations, the haves and the have-nots, is ownership, particularly home ownership. For instance, in the United States, people don't have a lot of cash, liquidity, but what they do have is they own their home.
They own them.
And homes, property goes up in value. If you go out and buy an automobile, from the first date, it goes down in value. When you buy property or you build a home on that property, it begins to gain value. So the second principle is very important. The difference between people that have wealth and don't, by and large, are people who own property or people who don't own property.
When you talk about property, you're talking about land maybe?
Yes, land and buildings.
Land and
specifically,
assets.
yes, specifically of a permanent nature on that land, whether it be a business, but most importantly, you need to own your home. Start there. Start there to own your home.
A lot of people are living in towns and they're paying rents and they're increasing their expenditures daily. And this is a very good concept to bring on board. So you have your own home. You're saving from the expenditures you would have used to pay for that house.
And the value goes up, and over time, you have a lot of cash inside that property, inside that home, or inside that business.
When you say the value goes up, what do you mean?
So for instance, whenever my husband and I bought our first home, we bought it for approximately 1 million shillings. 5 years later, we sold it for 5 million shillings. There's always so much property on the earth, and it just goes up in value, particularly when you put a permanent structure on it. It goes up in value. So maybe you buy it at 1 million shillings, 5-10 years later, the value of that home goes up to maybe now it's worth 10 million shillings.
You bought your house for 1 million shillings, and 10 years later you're selling it at 5 million shillings.
5 million shillings.
Wow, that is more than 100% increase, you know.
So you can see how you can create wealth by owning your home. And in Kenya, in Africa, from families, land is passed down.
Yeah, it's hereditary.
That is a huge asset you have. Your land, there's a lot of things you can do on that land, between farming or putting another structure up, renting it out, many uses of that land. But put your house on there and you'll see it go up in value. If you're renting, you are throwing your money down the latrine every single month.
So I know we've said much, and we are going to take a short break before we come back to discuss more. Well, this show, remember, is brought to you by Actarix Media. Actarix Media is a freelance production media that does video production, professional photography. They also do audio production and so much more that you will want. We also want to give a lot of thanks to the Vic Hotel that have hosted us today. If you want to enjoy premium services within the hospitality sector, you may want to visit the Vic Hotel for best internet, the best conferencing room, the best meals. They have very precious rooms that you can board and enjoy your stay when you come to Kisumu. Don't forget to visit the Vic Hotel. Thank you very much. We'll be back in a short break. Thank you very much, guys. Welcome back. We were having a topic about economic empowerment. When you want to grow economically stable, you need to observe three principles. One of them is to create, just as we had said. The second one is to own, and the third one is to grow. Much of it is still yet to come. Let us welcome back our guest for today, who is Ron.
If you're renting, you are throwing your money down the latrine every single month.
Exactly.
And when you get to be of retirement age, what have you got? Nothing. You're still going to be paying rent. Whereas if you're owning, you're growing that house in value, and someday it's going to be worth a lot of money to you. So principle number two.
So if you don't do any other thing in principle number two, you can just stay, but the value of that property will always increase.
Yes, almost always. Yeah. There's a few exceptions to that. Sometimes developers will overbuild and values will go down. Big exception. But you're still paying off the mortgage. And so you're still getting some wealth inside of that home or inside of that business. So the second principle is so important in wealth creation, to own. And also, let's just say that you have a tailoring business. You need to own your sewing machine. If you have a transportation business, you need to own that automobile or that motorbike. It's so important to own. Then the third principle is to grow a business from what you have created. And so there's a lot of principles of growing a business, from customer service to providing something that people need, to employing very capable people to help you grow that business, and to also reinvest. So let's just say that you're making 10,000 shillings a month on your business that you've created. Well, don't spend all that 10,000 shillings. Save some of that to reinvest in that business. So grow the best business you can and create the best value that you can create. Own the best property you can own. And then grow the best business you can grow. And that will increase your wealth. It will help you to sustain yourself and to be able to pay for school fees, to pay for when you get older, to help your children. That's how you create wealth. And you know, one of the most important things that you all can do, particularly with your platform, is to help young people with these principles.
So we have a lot of young guys, very energetic, you know. They can be a resource,
yes,
you know, towards a production something,
yes,
or doing something. But a lot of people will always think about capital, and
yes,
it's not something that they have ready.
Right.
How do you intend to go about this?
You know, we get that question a lot. Okay, I have this idea to create something, to own something, to start a business, but I have no money. Well, you have something. You have some knowledge, perhaps. Maybe you have some clothes that you could sell. Maybe you have a motorbike. You have something. And you just need to be creative and look around and say, what do I have? I have something. It's very important not to borrow money, particularly when you're first starting a business. Look around, see what you've got, and begin small. Maybe it's a little chicken farm. And maybe it's selling ice cream, or maybe you know how to fix computers. You have some kind of knowledge, or you're able to solve something, or you have an idea to invent something. But go to some family and friends, maybe pull your cash together. Find something around the family farm, some car parts. If you're really honest with yourself, you have something. And I use the example in the Old Testament of Moses, who was supposed to lead the children of Israel out of bondage. And he says, I can't talk, I don't have anything, I can't do anything. And God said, what's in your hand? And he said, a rod, a walking stick. Well, use that. Oh, yeah. Do you have a walking stick?
So use what is available.
Do you have a pot? Do you have the ability to cook for people, or to clean for people? There's a lot of things that you can start with little or no capital whatsoever. So it's simply a matter of thinking outside the box and using the mind that God gave you. You have resources in the land, you have gifts, you have talents, you have an able body. There's really no reason, no excuse, I should say, for not being able to start something. Start something small, and then in increments grow it. Keep reinvesting in it. Keep trying to improve on your services or on your product. And before you know it, you've got the ability to expand your business, get more equipment, hire more people. Business is the engine of prosperity.
Business is the engine of prosperity.
And it's what propels it. So as you create something that people need, you look around. For instance, in this area of the country in the West, in the rural areas outside Kisumu, people were always going to Kisumu to buy eggs. They're very expensive. So why not start an egg business, which people have done, for instance. And so you look around, what's a need that's not being met? What's something that is of value, of worth, that people want? Information, products, services, solutions.
And people, when people are thinking about business, when we are thinking about business, we are thinking that the bigger your business, the much you have. Mm-hmm. And so even for beginners who want to start their businesses, they are thinking of, you know, these big businesses, and they're not there yet.
Right.
So these at some points brings some level of latency.
Yes.
And it may make them sometimes not to realize the value of what they have, no matter small.
No matter small.
No matter small.
Right.
So how is this concept? How are you making sure this concept is still going to be of impact to a person who's thinking big, and same impact of the person who's thinking small?
It's for everybody and anyone in any situation.
And you don't have to wait to have much.
No, you start with what you have, and your gifts and your knowledge and the few possessions that you might have, and begin to create something from that people need, something of value. And then own property as soon as you can. Save money. Put a brick at a time down on the land you own, and then grow your business.
Thank you very much, guys. This has been a wonderful show. We hope to see you next time for part 2. This has not ended here. Let's stick around for part 2, and we hope you will enjoy and you will learn. And as you learn, remember to teach other people also. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video. Also comment down there if you have any question. We will always be obliged to answer. Thank you very much. Until we meet again, see you next time.